Up till now, we've always been figuring out function questions, composite function questions with numbers, and just looking at different ways that you could do that, either with a mapping, or with graphs, or with equations. Now, we're going to go back to the very beginning. Remember when that boy threw in that -4 and wrecked the machine, and they had to buy the new machine that did both things together?
Yeah.
This is figuring that out, and that's by putting a variable into the function. So it works the same way, but it says, if I start from my inside in A, and I'm doing f of g of x, it says if I throw an x into the g machine, into the function of g, what would come out? Well, the function g says whatever you throw in, we multiply it by 2 and add 7. Does that make sense? So if I threw a 3 into g of x, if I threw a 3 in, I'd go 2 times 3, multiply it by 2, then add 7. If you throw an x into the machine, well, it would get multiplied by 2, and then you add 7. This is what would come out, a 2x plus 7. And now what happens if you threw a 2x plus 7 into f? Well, whatever you throw into f, it gets squared, gets multiplied by 2, and then you add 1. So if you threw a 2x plus 7 in, that 2x plus 7 would get squared, multiplied by 2, and then add 1. And you have to FOIL that out, multiply it out. So this inside here would be 4x squared plus 28x plus 49. And then if you doubled that and simplified it, you would get 8x squared plus 56x, 98 plus 1 will be plus 99. So had your machine got broken or one of them and you had to replace it, that would be the machine you would look for to replace it to do everything all at once. Mm-hmm. So I want you to try part B. And if you get B done quickly before I put it up, you can try C as well. Let's check how you did. Part B, g of f of x. Well, that means we would first plug in x into f. And if you plugged x into f, you would get 2x squared plus 1. And then you put 2x squared plus 1 into g. Well, the g function says whatever you put in, you're going to multiply it by 2 and add 7. So if you put in this, you're going to take that, multiply it by 2, and then add 7. If I expand this, this will give me 4x squared plus 9.
Oh, you made C small too.
Oh, that's not good. Okay, well, I see what C is. C is g of x. So that means we're going to put x into g, and whatever you put into g gets multiplied by 2, and you add 7. And so now you would put 2x plus 7 into g, and whatever you put into g, so I'm going to put 2x plus 7 in, it gets multiplied by 2, and you add 7. Simplifying this becomes 4x plus 14 plus 7 plus 21. Now, once we've written an explicit equation, so these are each of the explicit equations, it says also state its domain and its range. The domain, that can be done just by looking at the equation. What is the domain of a parabola? Everything. So this one, the domain is everything. This one's a parabola, again, domain is everything. What's the domain of a line? Everything. Okay? The other thing that we have to check, because we used our final equation there to figure out our domain, we should also check to make sure there was no restrictions on our original functions. And since the domain of our original functions is everything, that makes that fine as well. Now, our range are harder. Let's start with the easiest one of the three, A, B, or C. Which one do you think is the easiest to figure out the range just by looking at it? C. It's a line. What's a line with a slope of 4? What's a range going to be? Everything. Good. The next easiest one, A or B? The B one, right? Because this one, if you use transformations, that's your parabola be stretched by 4 and then shifted up 9. Can you see that its vertex is at 0, 9? And so, and it's everything bigger than 9, because that parabola is going up. That one would be the next easiest one. The hardest one in this case is this, because it's not in a transformation form. And so for that one, I would recommend going to our calculator right now. You won't be asked one like that on a non-calculator, because you'd have to complete a square and figure all that out. So we could graph this in our graphing calculator. What was the final answer there? 8x squared?
8x squared plus 56x plus 99.
8x squared plus 56x plus 99. When you go to graph it, it might not even show up on our screen. Oh, it does. And then we can calculate, in this case, a minimum number 3. I'm going to look for that minimum between -5 and -1. It tells us the minimum happens when y is 1. So our range would be y is bigger than or equal to 1. Question 10 and 11 for practice.